pit blade works.
You guys, it's Overfang, and today I'm back with another one. So a lot of you have been asking for this one. This is probably, I have to say, this probably has to be the most someone has requested a video, and I kept putting it off because I was trying to tell you guys that I wanted to finish watching Babylonia before I did this one. But I mean, it's only, I'm almost done with Babylonia, so I'm pretty sure there's not much that he can spoil for me. But this is gonna be Gilgamesh Explained, and I'm telling you guys, like, a lot of you have been asking for this ever since I dropped my Archer Emiya Explained video. All of you have been telling me, oh, do Gilgamesh, do Gilgamesh, do Gilgamesh. So I obviously was gonna get to it eventually. I was debating whether I should do Gilgamesh or Hercules first, but like, I was thinking of leaving Gilgamesh for last, but like, you guys have been asking for this like non-stop Gilgamesh. So as I said, I'm almost done with Babylonia, so there's pretty much not much that I can spoil. I'm in episode right now. I'm in episode 16. I'm in episode 16, so a lot of people have been telling me to react to 18, 19, 20. So I'll probably record myself watching those episodes. So yeah, I'm almost done with it. So there's pretty much not much they can spoil for me that I don't know already. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So before we get started with the video, please, if you see in the corner, I have a goal of 200 subs by the end of the month. So if you guys could help me out with that, I would really appreciate it. It will really help me out a lot. We're at 183 right now as I'm recording this video, so it's like 17 more to go. 17 more to go. I know that doesn't seem like a lot to you guys, but it is a lot, considering like in the past few days I've gotten like 1 subscriber a day. So yeah, like, we're still a long way out. So please help me out. For those of you who have already subscribed, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. For those of you who haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. I mean, with this quarantine, like, there's not much you can do but to watch YouTube videos. So it is what it is. So where I'm at right now, my county, it hasn't been quarantined yet, but it's getting to that point. So the last couple of days I've been like really busy trying to buy everything I want to buy before, you know, I'm not going too crazy like buying stuff, but as you guys know, or maybe some of you don't know, I'm having a baby pretty soon, so I need to buy like a whole bunch of stuff. And I just got my living room together too, so I've been pretty busy the last couple of days, and I wanted to get all those things out of the way before my county actually gets quarantined, because it's getting closer and closer to my county. So yeah, that's gonna be rough. So that's pretty much it. So before we get started with the video, as I said, please go ahead, subscribe. Please help me out. It really helps me out a lot. And please help me reach my goal of 200 subs by the end of the month. I think that my reactions are pretty interesting, just because, like, unlike most reaction channels, like, most of my videos are composed of the actual video, and then more than half of the video is me giving like my opinions and analysis on what I just watched. So I really go in depth into everything I've just watched. So if you like those type of things, those type of discussions, those types of like speculation videos, most of my reactions have that, at most. So yeah, you will pretty much enjoy subscribing to my channel. So without further ado, I'm talking way too much. Let's just go right into the video.
About you, but for someone who's titled the King of Heroes and is widely believed to be the strongest heroic spirit in the Fate universe, I sure don't know a whole lot about him.
Karna?
Like, we all know the character Gilgamesh, But unlike Saber or Ryder, who are based off of more widely popular historical figures, I knew nothing of this so-called oldest king while
For
watching
real,
any of the Fate series.
I didn't know anything
So this
about
got me wondering,
Gilgamesh before
who
Fate.
exactly is this arrogant servant that likes to place himself at what's essentially the pinnacle of human existence, and
For real.
why the fuck is he so much powerful than everyone else? Well, let's take a look at who this walking embodiment of pride was back when he was alive, and see what exactly made him the king of heroes. Gilgamesh is the legendary figure who can be found as the focus in what's considered to be the world's oldest piece of fictional literature.
Really?
A mythic poem titled the Epic of Gilgamesh, which dates all the way back to the year 2100 BC. It's a 4,000-year-old story
Damn, that's
that
old.
just so happens to grant Gilgamesh yet another title as history's first known hero. His adventures and accomplishments as the absolute ruling entity of Uruk are certainly nothing to scoff at, but it's his quest for immortality and what he learned from it that makes this epic so memorable. Let's set the stage. The year is around 2800 BC, and the Age of Gods is on the brink of separation due to their continually deteriorating state from the invasion of Safar. You see, the gods used to walk the earth as physical manifestations of nature itself, which allowed them to rule the earth and its inhabitants. But after Safar nearly destroyed the entire planet along with numerous gods, the rest of them began to lose their physical forms and could only manifest themselves on Earth by possessing compatible humans. The gods eventually came to the conclusion that their time remaining on Earth was very limited. To counter their diminishing presence, they came up with a plan to create a keystone that would act as the bridge between the fading gods and the emerging humans. Gilgamesh was that keystone. It was around the year 2600 BC that Gilgamesh was born as a demigod between the human king of Uruk and the goddess Ninsun. At the time, Uruk was the capital city of ancient Mesopotamia.
So,
the first
was
civilization
Gilgamesh
to
the
be created
first
on Earth
demigod
since
ever?
The beginning of mankind. So being born as 2/3 god and 1/3 human into a ruling position of one of the first cities to have ever existed is definitely a nice position to be in. But the gods definitely did not intend for Gilgamesh to turn out the way that he did. Rather than being this neutral entity that would observe humanity from both the perspective of a god and a human, he instead became this figure of absolute authority. You see, Gilgamesh was born with the knowledge that he was neither fully god nor human, and as such, he placed himself as this superior being over all those that he ruled. This led to him becoming this oppressive tyrant of a king who historically was recorded as either subjecting his people to forced labor or sexually oppressing them.
Really?
That's the subtle way of putting it. I'm actually downplaying it a lot here because just mentioning the atrocities he committed would probably lead to instant demonetization, which leads me to wonder how he even became a hero in the first place. But moving on, the
For real,
gods
because this
weren't
guy
quite
sounds like a
satisfied
freaking...
by the fact that this supposed keystone would grow up to become such a tyrannical king who wouldn't even submit to the ones that created him. So the king of gods, Anu, and the goddess of creation, Aruru, mold a piece of earth into this wild man monster named Enkidu and give it life, but not a soul. Its purpose of existence was to act as the chains of heaven and put Gilgamesh back into his place as an observer of the gods by binding him. Though since Enkidu didn't have a soul himself, he had no sense of rational thought. So he couldn't
I knew that they were going to spoil something for me if I watched this first.
And reason to do so. This was made possible by sleeping with a divine harlot that was sent by the gods themselves. But that's more Enkidu's story than Gilgamesh's. So after molding itself into a rational being, Enkidu goes to carry out its mission. The first time that it witnesses Gilgamesh, though, he was still a child that hadn't completely put humanity under his foot. So at first,
Kid
Enkidu
Gilgamesh
was
is so
questioning
freaking
the
cute,
gods'
bro.
reasoning for having it met
I
out
got him
of
as
this
a
just
servant
rule.
in
Surely refusing to submit to the gods
in
as
Fate Grand
does
Order.
not warrant the type of
I don't
divine
use him
punishment
much
that
though.
the gods were trying to deal. At least that's what Enkidu thought. But as he watched Gil grow, he witnessed the foresight the gods had to see Gil become this over-oppressive tyrant of a king. When the right time finally came, Enkidu presented himself in front of Gil outside the temple of Uruk and stated that punishment had to be dealt for his lack of respect towards the gods and the oppression that he dealt to his people. Obviously, Gil, still being full of arrogance, didn't just accept the words of some clay humanoid that was reprimanding him. No, instead they fought each other in a battle that lasted for days on end. This would be the first time in Gilgamesh's life that he would encounter someone of equal strength. So Gilgamesh had no choice but to respond in equal force by using his Gate of Babylon for the first time. Initially, he was very hesitant to use the treasures that he had carefully stored, but after some time, he came to the realization that he was actually enjoying himself. You see, Gilgamesh
Oh, he
lived
had
a
never
very
fought
lonely
before.
life.
Well, not
His
fought
unopposed power led him to a life
like
of
that.
isolation, and this served as a factor in the duress that he
He's
had to
never
live
gone all out
being
before.
ruled. But
Yeah, I
after
remember
coming
that
across
scene.
Enkidu,
That thing was
someone
massive,
who was worthy
bro.
of being in his
That
presence,
freaking
even to fight him,
Enuma
he
Elish.
stopped caring for the treasures that he had collected and started emptying the vault until there wasn't even a single weapon left to use. Though by that time,
Wow.
Enkidu was reduced to almost only 10% of the clay that he had started with. But rather than simply eliminating the first true opponent that he ever had, Gilgamesh respected Enkidu as an equal, and instead became friends with it. Now, I don't think you need me to tell you, but obviously the Gate of Babylon aspect is a fate-altered component of Gilgamesh's epic. Though everything up to now has been similar, creating a portal that has direct access to his vault of weapons that then fires them at Mach 10 isn't something that's historically accurate.
Damn,
But
Mach
moving
10?
on, Gil and Enkidu, who are now best buds, set their sights towards the guardian of the cedar forest and the beast of the gods, Humbaba. The two heroes traverse 7 mountains to get to the cedar forest, where once there they go deep
Yo, this
within
guy's
until
names
they
are so
encounter the
freaking
divine
weird, bro.
beast. Though Gilgamesh is at first startled by the demigod guardian, he prays to the sun god, who in return aids Gil by blinding the beast. Humbaba begs to be spared, but is mercilessly decapitated anyways. To make things even worse, in the Nasuverse, although Humbaba was this monstrous creature, it was said to possess the innocent heart of a young girl, one who had also once been friends with Enkidu. It even wore a crown of flowers that Enkidu made from a garden that it had planted just for her. It's at this point that Enkidu is confused by Gil's actions. It's unsure as to why Gilgamesh would go to such great lengths to perform such a dangerous task that wasn't even requested by the gods. Gil explains that it's all to protect Uruk, which confuses Enkidu even more since it was not too long ago that Gil was oppressing the very people that he was now trying to protect. Gil explains his reasoning, and after hearing it, Enkidu pledges loyalty as a tool to help Gil reach his goals. Though this next part may be shocking because Gil didn't accept its pledge, stating that it was his friend and not just a tool. After this, their adventures together resulted in Gil becoming the greatest and richest king on Earth. Even the gods themselves had to acknowledge the power that Gil had accumulated. One goddess in particular,
I'm guessing that's
who
why,
goes by the
as a
name of
servant, he
Ishtar,
has that
actually fell in love with Gil and proposed marriage.
like wealth,
I know, it's
skilled or something.
But don't worry, because Gil
Like
actually
he,
turned
like
down
he'll
this
always
goddess of
find a
fertility's
way to
proposal
gain wealth. Like
due to
he'll
her
never
past
be
as
poor.
being, well, a thought. Ishtar was very well
For
known
real,
for
bro.
mistreating
Ishtar's
her
kind of
past
like
lovers
out
by
there. Like
being
I feel like
unfaithful
she
and
likes
cruel, and
Fujimaru.
Gilgamesh
She
just
likes
didn't want any of
freaking
it. So he sent her
Gilgamesh.
away.
Like
Ishtar,
oh my
feeling that
gosh,
she
bro.
had just become insulted, and being the yandere that she is, went to her father Anu, the supreme god, and requested to unleash the Bull of Heaven onto Uruk. The Bull of Heaven was the greatest
Not to
divine beast
mention that
existed
she's
at the time,
constantly,
and it was used to get revenge
constantly
on Gil for rejecting her.
wearing like a
It had reigned
freaking.
terror on Earth for 7 whole
like-
years before Gilgamesh and Enkidu
And
were
I'm
able
doing
to
her a
defeat it
favor
using
by
the
calling
very
it a
chains of heaven
swimsuit,
that were meant
like,
to bind Gil. This had just
through
angered
like
Ishtar
her
more,
daily
and she
life. Like
demanded
that's
that
what that's
Enkidu
how
be
she
put to death
dresses.
for killing the
Period.
divine
Like oh my
beast.
god, bro.
The gods also agreed, and
And she,
it wasn't very
no
long
wonder
after
Gilgamesh was
Enkidu
like,
slowly
nah,
started
you,
to decay and
nah,
lose
no
his
way.
form. As
Go,
it piece
bye.
by piece returned to the clay that it was molded from, Gilgamesh stayed by its side. Enkidu told him not to grieve because it considered itself
So basically,
nothing more than just a treasure from Gil's collection. But Gilgamesh denied this claim and said that
Babylonia
it does have its own
starts
worth,
like
a
right
worth
after
that nothing else
this.
in the world can or will ever have. Gil declared that Enkidu will stay as his one and only friend forever, so that the worth that it has right now will never change. I'm sure it was actually at this point that Gil discovered the true power of friendship. But shortly after, Enkidu returned to clay and Gilgamesh grieved for his lost friend. It's at this point that he also reaches a kind of existential midlife crisis. Seeing his closest friend die greatly changed his perspective of life. Up until now, all he did was collect treasures, sleep with women, and fight beasts to protect Uruk. But now, Gil had a sense of his own mortality. He realized that death was slowly creeping up and there was nothing that he could do about it.
Yeah, they
It
mentioned that
wasn't the
he
thought of dying that
went
scared
to
him
search
as
for
much as it was the
immortality or
thought of not
something.
being able to complete his duty as the overseer of humanity. The thought of someone such as himself being unable to fulfill the very reason for his existence played a heavy toll on him. So much so that he fell into a bit of depression. Gilgamesh needed to find a way to escape death's grasp, and he needed to do it before his time ran out. So he became obsessed with a treasure that he had intended on collecting for his vault, but just later on in life. It was called the Herb of Immortality, a spirit herb that grants the user what's essentially eternal life by returning them to their youth. This was the tool that Gil needed in order to fully complete
Oh, it
his
was a
mission.
herb.
So like a man possessed, he left for the underworld in search of a sage who was pretty much the Mesopotamian version of Noah. A sage that had lived for many years, much longer than that of a normal human.
But like that,
So
that
if
doesn't make you
anyone knew
immortal
the
though.
key to immortality, it would be him.
Like he will
Their
die
journey was long
eventually.
and spanned
I mean, yeah,
several
you could buy
years.
yourself
All the
probably
while,
like
Gil groveled
if
in
he
despair
uses
on
it
his limited
when
time
he's
on
like
Earth.
80, you probably
After
buy
decades
yourself
of
another
wandering,
70,
he
80
finally
years.
reached the
But like
underworld and met the sage.
that doesn't mean you're
Though
gonna be
the form
immortal.
of immortality that the sage offered was not what Gil had in mind. This sage had become partially one with nature. He had joined the rank of the gods by becoming half plant and foregoing his human desires. Once again, Gil wanted none of this, and was about to turn around and head back to Uruk when the sage, who had just had his entire existence denied in a single moment, revealed a different way of obtaining immortality. He stated that there was an herb that granted perpetual youth, and it could be found deep underwater. So Gil sets off to claim the herb for himself, and sure enough, he does. Now, for the first time in his life, Gilgamesh feels a sense of pride and accomplishment. He will now be able to avenge his only friend's death by beating death
But they
itself.
just had that EA
Gilgamesh, with
sports
his
sign
depression
just
now gone, returns to his
pass
senses,
by.
and along with it comes some of his ego. Before returning to his kingdom, he feels he must first look like a king. He decides to stop and clean himself at a nearby spring. He places the herb down and goes and rests in the water. While Gil was in this state of pure euphoria for obtaining the world's greatest treasure, a nearby snake had gained whiff of the herb. It slithers towards the plant, and as any animal would, takes the easy meal and eats it. By the time Gilgamesh had realized what was going on, it was already too late. The herb was
Really?
gone, and the snake had shed its skin, proving the effects of the herb of immortality. So you'd think that after seeing this, Gil would
Really?
just go absolutely insane for losing his most valuable treasure. But instead, he just laughed it off. Although he didn't gain
A
any
freaking snake,
material
man, are you
rewards from his
freaking
journey,
serious, bro?
he did learn something. His brief sense of accomplishment and joy that had vanished just as quickly as he obtained it made him realize the full extent of his humanity and the limitations that come with it. It was at this point that Gilgamesh became truly human, maturing through an experience that he had never had the chance of experiencing before. Gilgamesh returns to Uruk empty-handed and rules his people in a much more tame manner until he finally passes away on his own terms. If you're wondering why he didn't just go back and get more of the herb, well, he did, but just for the sake of completing his collection. He doesn't consume the herb though because he knows now that it's not himself that should be remembered forever, but rather his accomplishments that should become immortal. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, so he does have
Now,
the
I'm sure
immortality in
there's
the
many things that are
vault.
to be learned from this epic, like how you should accept your limitations as a human, and how it's your actions that define your legacy and whatnot. But I think what
That's
really
not
matters
bad,
is
bro.
the fact that he did succeed in immortalizing his existence into history as the world's first hero. Now, keep in mind that this version of Gil's story relates mostly to the Nasuverse, but does also combine some historical elements just to make it as coherent of a story as possible. The historical version obviously has some key differences in the way that certain events happen, like Enkidu taunting Ishtar with the severed leg of the Bull of Heaven, or Gil immediately failing the test to see if he was worthy of gaining the knowledge to the secret of immortality. So if you want to know the full historical version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, there are plenty of other higher quality videos that showcase that entire story. Anyway, this is just part 1 of Gilgamesh's profile. So now that his lore is done, next video we can look closer into his Gate of Babylon
his powers,
and
bro.
everything else that comes with it.
His
But
powers,
as
man.
always, thank
That's
you
gonna
so
be
much
epic.
for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time, ciao!
Yeah, I really enjoy this guy's videos, man. Like, any news, bro, like this guy makes some awesome videos, I'm not gonna lie. But there's like this thing that I've noticed with all of these stories, except for Emiya's, because Emiya's is pretty much fate crafted story. It's not like it has like a whole bunch of lore behind it. But like when I watch Ku Kolin's and now Gilgamesh's, what I've noticed with all these stories is that like always like some weird some weird stuff happens. Like, okay, so Gilgamesh goes to get the herb of immortality, and then he sets it down, and then a snake comes and eats it. And then in the Ku Kolin one, I remember that he was fighting someone. I forgot the name of who he was fighting, but he basically beat her by saying, oh, your favorite horse and carriage fell off a cliff, and she looked at Hiwan like that. What? Like it sounds to me, because it's lore, it's myth, it's something, it's a story that's been passed down for hundreds of years. So what I feel is like that something else happened there and they don't know what it was, so they just like put something in there just to fill the gap. So like Gilgamesh found the herb, but then he lost the herb. They don't know how he lost the herb, so they say a snake ate it. Like what? That makes like, oh my god. So you will literally, like, after you've grabbed the most valuable treasure that you could ever hope for, why wouldn't he just put it back? Like, why would you just leave it on the, like, I don't think that makes sense. Like, I don't think he would do, like, I don't think a rational person would do that. Like it's crazy. So the other thing was that they said, so basically when you go to the throne of heroes, right, that's after you're like, after you die and after the end of your life. So I'm assuming that you have all the maturity that you would have at the end of your life. Now this is my question, because Gilgamesh in Fate Stay Night and Fate Unlimited Blade Works, like, this guy is a real prick, man. Like, yo, I like Gilgamesh because he is really cocky and whatnot, but if, mind you, like the Gilgamesh in the Servant Gilgamesh and then the Gilgamesh in Stay Night Babylonia, I feel like those are two completely different characters, to be honest. Like the way they act, I feel like they're two completely different characters. I mean, sure, the Gilgamesh from Babylonia, he is cocky, he is arrogant, like, yes, but not to the extent of the Gilgamesh in Fate Stay Night and Fate Unlimited Blade Works. Like, I feel like that guy is a lot less mature than the Gilgamesh in Babylonia. And I don't know how that works exactly, because what I'm saying is, like, wouldn't they have the same level of maturity that they had when they finally died? Or does Gilgamesh in Babylonia just go back to being a cruel, arrogant prick? Because this guy is freaking cruel in Fate Stay Night and Fate. This guy's like, you could say like this guy is straight up evil, honestly. Like it feels like he hasn't matured at all. Like he hasn't lived a full life. Like he still has things that he hasn't accomplished, and he's desperate to complete those goals. But like, as he said in the story, Gilgamesh did die on his own terms, and he didn't even want to consume the herb of immortality. So it's kind of weird. And I'm telling you, the Gilgamesh in the store in Babylonia is nothing like the Gilgamesh in the Fate Stay Night storyline. Nothing like that Gilgamesh. So it's kind of weird. And again, he did become a hero at some point, correct? So I feel like I don't know. Like the Gilgamesh in Stay Night, to be honest, it feels like he's like, I don't know, like a teenager that was given power but actually never learned to rule, and he's just like, he just wants what he wants, and if he doesn't get it that way, he throws a tantrum and he gets mad and he wants to kill everybody. While the Gilgamesh in Babylonia is more mature and he knows how to rule and acts like a real king. And I feel like, shouldn't he have that level of maturity in the Stay Night storyline, unless something happens at the end, something that I'm missing, you know? So unless something that I'm missing happens at the end there in Babylonia, like the story completely is contradicting itself. Because the Gilgamesh that we see in Fate Stay Night will be the Gilgamesh before meeting Enkidu. Because Enkidu has pretty much changed Gilgamesh's life. So that Gilgamesh, the cruel king, that is what we see in the storyline. But that doesn't make sense because he should have the level of maturity that he had when he finally died. So yeah, next time he's gonna do the powers, and oh my god, I'm probably gonna have a lot to say about that, because this guy's Gate of Babylon has pretty much everything you can think of is in there. Like everything you want, whatever you want, doesn't matter what it is, like it's in there. PS5, he has it. Like this dude has everything, bro. Like a freaking rocket is in there. Like, yo, I'm probably gonna have I'm gonna have a lot more to say. PS25 in that vault. Xbox 33 is in there. Like, bro, that is insane. Like, this guy has planes there in a time where planes weren't even a concept. Like, that is insane. And I know that, like, according to his myth and lore, like the world used to be a lot different, and they were used to exist, like really ancient civilizations that were really advanced, and those are the type of things that he has in his collection. But where did all that technology go? Where did all that go? Like, it makes no sense for all those things to just like vanish and disappear. Like all those artifacts, all that technology, all of those things for millions and millions of years just disappear and never to be seen again, and then got reinvented in like a million years into the future, because somehow everything was lost. There was nothing left, absolutely nothing. So it's kind of weird. It is like when I read or watch these types of stories, it really makes me curious about like if the world actually used to be that way. How was it? Like, could you imagine living in a time where gods just like normally stroll down the street, freaking gods and freaking like beasts and all those things, like just walking down the street or whatever? Like, could you imagine living in a time like that? It'll be freaking crazy, and it makes me like really curious. Like, could you imagine the possibilities? Like, look at Uruk. Like, Uruk, the city of Uruk, bro, used to be amazing. It used to be crazy, bro. Like, a city like that shouldn't have existed so far back, if you think about it. Like, thinking of it logically, it shouldn't have existed, but yet it did. Or even like, and I know it's a myth, but even like something like Atlantis, or like there's a whole bunch of stuff of myths and legends that could have been real, could have not, but like, could you imagine the possibilities that if it was? Like, that's insane to me. Like, that's why I like this video so much, because like it opens your mind to a lot of possibilities that maybe we don't know about. We can't say, oh, this is fake, it never happened. We can't 100% say that. We could make a smart assumption, an educated guess, and say, well, no, this is impossible, this never happened. But we don't actually know. Like, we don't know 100% that none of this existed. So, because it happened so far back, according to the stories, that it, like, we couldn't even begin to fathom, like, if it was real. Could you imagine? Like, oh my god, yo, this video was awesome. I really enjoyed it a lot. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. That is the end of the video. Please be safe out there, you know, with this whole virus, whatever, pandemic stuff. So yeah, just take care of yourself. Don't go out if you don't have to. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. As I said at the beginning of the video, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 200 subs by the end of the month. So please do me a favor and subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, definitely come back next time, because we're going to be going over his powers. And that's going to be lit. I can't wait for that. That's going to be amazing. So thank you guys so much. And as I always say, have an awesome day, and catch you guys on the next one.